Good afternoon. My name is John Claude Pinto, and I'm the Prayer Chaplain Director here at UoT of Tustin. I've been given the honor of opening the Remembrance ceremony service by doing three things. First, I'll be lighting the Christ candle. Second, welcoming you. And thirdly, initiating the opening prayer. But before I start, I've been asked to remind you to silence your phones if you already haven't done so. Thank you. We light the Christ candle as a symbol to remind us of that eternal flame that's always burning within us, that Christ consciousness. And this is a way of symbolizing that. I want to warmly welcome you all to this Remembrance Ceremony service organized by our very own Prayer Chaplain Ministry. I want to recognize our Minister Craig Phillips and our pianist Carol Roman and musical guests. And I want to thank you so much for attending this reverential service and remembering our departed loved ones. Dear friends, we have a heartfelt and sacred purpose in gathering here today. In this special day of remembrance ceremony dedicated to the loved ones, especially those that have recently left us during this time of COVID pandemic. As spiritual beings, we are all on an eternal journey whose purpose is to express the inner spirit of goodness and love, which is our divine birthright. As we celebrate and bless our beloved departed ones with love into a new and fresh dimension of life, a life after life, a continuation into the divine mystery, let us remember all the ways these beloved ones have touched our lives. In the Gospel of John, Jesus says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am." We affirm that God's life has many mansions and is bigger than anything we'll ever know. And all our beloved ones are now in the realm of spirit. They are no longer limited by time or form. They are living souls, continuing on in the loving care of God in the realm of mystery itself. Let us pause for a moment and turn our attention within. Accessing the inner love and strength, we bid goodbye to the physical presence of these inspiring individuals who were widely loved. Let us remember that it's through experiencing our oneness that we recognize our oneness in God. Let us know that in spirit there can be no separation. No separation for those we love. And in this truth, we find comfort. One of the greatest challenges that all of us meet is the challenge of change. And the most mysterious of all changes is the one that we call death or our transition. Underneath grief and sorrow, you may even at times find a sacred, complicated peace and joy, not because of your loss, but more importantly, because you have loved. The tears you shed and continue to shed are a testament of your great love. Imagine what life would have been like without these beloved individuals. Let our sorrow turn into sacred love. And in this time of readjustment, turn to God and the mystery within. Let's take a moment to close your eyes and silently extend a prayer and a blessing of love to your beloved ones and also to yourselves. If there is anything unsaid, unspoken, and that needs healing, please speak it now inwardly and release it internally in this moment of silence, in the silence for 30 seconds. Dear God, sweet Spirit, we know that you are the great love from which all life emerges. And it is into this great love that we release the spirit of our loved ones into your welcoming hands, knowing that your peace surpasses all understanding. Fill both their and our hearts and minds with this peace, now and forever. In the oneness of shared unity, we say, Amen.
name is Patty Higgins, and I've been a prayer chaplain here for 20 years. I thank Carol for her beautiful rendition of Morning Has Broken. That's kind of the theme of my talk. I'm an insomniac. Do any of you have trouble sleeping in these interesting times? I apologize if I send you texts and emails in the middle of the night. I'm kind of loopy then. So you can't hear me? Can you hear me better now? Okay, good. So I'm often awake between 3 and 4 in the morning. That's kind of my holy time with God. That's when I pray with you. Sometimes our prayer chaplain lists have 100 people on them. And this Memorial Day, I was awake. My heart was heavy. It often is on Memorial Day. In Montana, my grandmother would decorate the family pastoral grave plots by cleaning them and decorating them every Memorial Day. And I always thought that was such a beautiful way to honor our beloveds. This Memorial Day, my heart was especially heavy. I was contemplating my granddaughters, Katie and Emily, and their two siblings who are driving now and going off to college and emptying my nest. And I was feeling lonely and sad. I was missing all my beloved Unity family. We were shut down for months and funerals and marriages were delayed. And I was wondering who all has gone missing. I know that of the 107 prayer chaplains that have gone through training, I know of at least 14 who have passed. And my heart was heavy. I was thinking especially of two of our very beloved prayer chaplains. Dr. Greg Maddox would often tend our health emergencies and give medical consulting. In his last visit with us, he shared with us each prayer chaplain got a volume of the spiritual writings that he and his brother had collected. Such a treasure. He would share his Pantages play tickets and concert tickets with us and open his house for adventure and faith so that his daughters and their friends could share in our spiritual studies. So Dr. Greg passed right at the very beginning of COVID, maybe of COVID, we're not sure, but another prayer chaplain, a beloved friend who passed right at the beginning of COVID, was my dear friend, Linda Shrewsbury. Linda was an amazing creative soul. She would decorate our prayer chaplain meetings. One time she had this river of sparkling blue fabric going all the way through the Victoria House to symbolize water and that we are always in the flow. She would share beautiful mementos with us. I forgot to bring up, but she gave me a beautiful crystal candle holder set that I have to remember her by. Linda had an amazing scientific mind. She loved our Course of Love group that met every Tuesday, and we just valued her so much. She knew she was dying, and it was right at the beginning of COVID that she was hospitalized, and we couldn't visit her. But we talked on the phone, and Linda would crack jokes, and she just had the best sense of humor. And she really taught me how to die, that we can each do our own death, however we do it. There's no right or wrong way. It just kind of passes through us. So on Memorial Day, I was thinking about Linda and Dr. Greg and how Dr. Greg would make his monthly prayer calls on his international travels. One time from Notre Dame, Paris, France, he called his Unity folks, and I was missing them. And I was thinking, well, how can we celebrate their lives? And how can I feel this heaviness in my heart? So in the middle of the night, I had this vision. I envisioned our prayer chaplains gathering here on the lawn in white. And I envisioned you here. And I envisioned a party, a family reunion of of everyone who's ever been part of our spiritual family. So I called up Marge and Arnie and Pam and Arlene and our historians, Amy, and I started my Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so there were 14 ministers we could invite, and there were 33 past staff members, and there were 46 board members, and then there were all the musicians and the teachers. Wow, what a great celebration of life I could have. I could have my very own celebration of life service and attend it. And maybe you heard the music played right before this. That's my own personal funeral playlist that you got to hear. So I was envisioning this great gathering to really fill my heart and just be with you in love, because you are what would really make me feel at one with Spirit. But then COVID exploded, and I went back to fear, and I didn't want to initiate a super spreader event. So there are masks back there on the table, so please be safe here today. I beg you. And I had to realize that whoever came today would be the perfect right people. And that, thank goodness for technology. Many of you are Zooming in from afar, or maybe getting to see it later in the day because it's going to be recorded. So I started feeling good about that. And then who should we celebrate? I mean, we have so many wonderful people who built Unity of Tustin. We had Reverend Paul Timon and Bud Britt. We had Chan DeKramer and Dennis DePreet, and we had these deceased members that we could celebrate today. And then you started sending in lists. You became part of my dream that was manifesting, and you sent in the names of your beloved people that we are honoring here today. Most of them passed maybe during COVID, but just whatever names came to us. And those founding members, and I apologize for forgetting some people's names, maybe we can have a project to have a memorial wall or walkway or something to remember everybody. But for today, we're just honoring those names that were submitted. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping make my vision, my dream come true. And you are such a part of it. You fill my heart being connected here together. And I especially want to thank my prayer chaplain friends. They have given tremendously of their time, their talent, and treasure to make this event possible. Thank you, thank you. And there are others like Marion who did the artwork, and Andrea who's helping, and Arlene who are helping decorate. I can't, and Marco and our beloved Mary Jean and Christy, they taught me how to embed a JPEG into an email. And John Claude, he taught me how to set up my own Zoom, my personal Zoom. So what this event has done is it's brought my prayer chaplain friends, my community closer to me, so that hole that was in my heart, I'm celebrating now. I'm celebrating that we are together in love, and we are here now, this eternal, precious now. We are living life. And I'm still wearing my tag from last night's concert. That was so much fun. That's what we got to do. We've got to celebrate the life we have today. So did I mention my beloved co-chairman, Mayor Stephen and Bonnie Gosline? I feel like I've had a mind meld with them. We get texts at 6 in the morning, 11 at night. We have been working diligently ever since Memorial Day to create this. And so I just, wherever you are, I think you're back there. Thank you, beloved friends. It means the world to me to have you create my vision today. Thank you.
So if you haven't already, let's close our eyes for just a moment. Feeling the divine presence that's here as stillness. And feeling ourselves, our hearts immersed in that still presence today. Feeling the breath as coming out of that stillness into the body. And continuing with the beautiful practice that Jean-Claude gave us during the opening prayer. Get a sense of breathing into your heart through an opening in your chest. Breathe open. Breathe open to the life that Patty just mentioned, the aliveness that's here and now. And as we breathe loving kindness, as we breathe compassion into our own hearts, we breathe healing for any grief that we are still carrying. Letting the grief transmute into love. And in the space of the heart, perhaps bring someone that has departed this world in the past year or whenever it was, somebody that you hold very dear. I know for me, today would have been my father's birthday. And it may be more than one person. Just get a feeling of all of those you're holding today in this remembrance. In that holding, they are present here. And as you feel them in your heart, breathe love and appreciation and gratitude to them in your heart. Perhaps even a silent prayer of thank you. Thank you for being a part of my life, not only when you were in the body, but that you are a part of me even now in this remembrance, maybe even more powerfully. And know that in that heart space, you are forever one with your loved ones, with those who have gone. Just take a few moments to be in that silence and stillness with your loved ones, knowing that they are present here and now with you. And as we move toward the end of this meditation, whisper the silent I love you to your dear ones who have gone before you. again, feeling that that bond is eternally present.
Thank you, Craig. Can you all hear me? Thank you, Craig. That was so beautiful. My name is Mare Stevens, and it is so wonderful to get present. Oh, it just opens your heart. It heals your mind. It heals your body. It heals your life. And we are here together to get present with death, which is not easy. It's the hardest thing we do here in this life of being alive is deal with death. And we've been quarantined besides that. We couldn't get together and cry wetly all over each other. And we wanted to create something at the end of the quarantine that would at least acknowledge what so many of us have been through alone. My dad grew up as a Baptist. The Baptist knew you should not be alone. He was in the farming community in the 1920s and 30s, and when someone would die, the neighbors would go over to the home and clean the home and cook and do the chores and prepare the body to lie in the parlor, and then other neighbors would come over and sit with that body, and they would never leave it alone. They would not leave the family alone. They knew. They knew the healing of togetherness. Stories that of this heal. We know that every culture has a coming together when there's death. And in Texas, they would, sit with this body in silence and in prayer, but then they'd start to just visit. And they'd talk about the weather and the crops and somebody's cow, and as if that person were just still part of the community, because of course they were. Once a part of the community, always a part of the community. And then the next day or so, in the little white steepled church, they would have their hymns, their songs, their prayers, their rituals, and they'd tell stories. People would get up and talk about admiration, gratitude, list of accomplishments, funny stories, adventures, and they'd tell stories about how that person always did this or wouldn't do that, and other people had to work around it, and there was a real humanity and acceptance of the humanity of that person, not a deification of them, but a realizing, well, they were hard too sometimes, and they still will be missed. Stories heal. They help us make sense of the senseless. They help us accept the unacceptable. And death is really hard to accept. It's this explosive wound because there's one moment in time when everything changes and you can never go back. And all the things you said or didn't say or did or didn't do are done, and they can't be changed or undone or apologized for, and the way it happened is the way it happened, and our busy brains want to write a little script about, could have been better, more, less, something. But the fact is, we have to be present with it. When we have this emotional wound with so many feelings, and it's going to go on for a long time, we're going to see something, and it'll stab us in the eye. We're going to hear something, and it'll whop us on the side of the head. And we're going to just feel a certain situation we're in, and it'll hit us in the back. And then there'll be something later that will trigger us again, and we'll stumble into it without our skin on. And we might misbehave, and people don't understand because it doesn't show. So we need to come together and share what's going on so that there's understanding and connection. That is our connection. Our story is other people's story because everyone has loss, and the little details are different, but the feelings are very much the same. And there's just no instant recovery spray. Psh. There's no like dip in paint or anything, stitches. There's nothing that really helps except time. So being present with the feelings, silence, prayer, ritual, music. We're going to do right now a healing ritual with water. Water is a solvent. The molecule actually opens up and it takes into itself things that are dissolved and never come out. And water represents in Chinese thought the mystery in life. There's this power that's greater than us. There's these things we just don't understand. We don't have the mental equipment. We have to accept the mystery. And water, as an element of transformation in Chinese thought, represents the changing of form, because water can be a big wave or an ocean. It can be a drop of rain. It can be a little snowflake, different than all the other snowflakes. And those snowflakes can pile up on and crash through a roof. Water can be vapor. Water also represents our ability to adapt and change to conditions around us. So here's what we're going to do. We have some beautiful crystal bowls of sacred water, and our prayer chaplains, Andrea Nishihara, who decorated all these tables, and Donna Evans and Jack Raglan. And you have in your program a little heart-shaped thin piece of paper. So you can find that now. And if you don't have one, Kathy Corner or someone else who's back, Pam Wheeler, someone who's back there by the programs will bring you one. So raise your hand if you don't have. Okay. If you don't have a little heart, someone is bringing you one now. This paper heart represents your physical heart, your emotional heart. Yeah, keep your hand up. They're coming. Okay. So you're going to be taking this heart to a bowl of water, and the water will dissolve the paper, and you'll be watching that happen while Carol plays some of her wonderful healing music. And then there'll be a little period of silence at the end of that. And that silence is a time to sit down and just be present inside yourself. If you didn't finish with the ritual, you can finish it after the service in our time of fellowship. Or if you didn't feel complete, you can revisit this lovely ritual later. So Pam, we have a person over here, several over here. So, as Carol plays, feel in your heart. Let God be in your thoughts. Whatever comes up is the perfect thing to be released today, to be dissolved. Let that be, open to it, hold the space for it, take your paper over, and just watch how beautifully it dissolves and how easily. Hold open that space for healing. God will do the processing in you that the water processes in the paper.
Rolando Alarcón,
Vito Andraña,
Paul Angleo,
Francisco Arce,
Sarah Jojo Barnhouse,
Bernard Bunny Bazinski,
Steve Blazer,
Allison Brown,
Robert Buckley,
Dana Cabrera,
Anthony Cannon,
Luis Cardenas,
Marjorie Chafin,
Joseph Carter,
John Philip Daniel,
Janet and Amos Deacon,
Kate Duren,
Julie Aline Erith,
Irene Field,
Tarek Grease,
Sister Lynn Gutteridge,
Joan Hill,
Geneviève Hissoir,
Lawrence Arthur Keeler,
Andrea Kelly,
Keanu Kiu,
Marjorie Kimbrell,
Carol Larkin,
Margaret Leary,
Dee Lisco,
Dr. Greg Maddox,
Sister Michaeline Mary,
Ruth Olivia Monders,
Dan McDonald,
Marion McLean,
Judy McMillan,
Anne McGuire,
Norm McGuire,
Donna Montgomery,
Jean Montgomery,
Betty Jean Quinlan Nikias,
Elizabeth Nikas,
Mary Ann Nelson,
Sister Catherine Nessie,
Lily Lou T. Nguyen,
Julie Noriega,
John William Ostrander,
Harry Pinney,
Philip Ploker,
Henrietta Romanowski,
Debbie Schoenfeld,
Kenneth Scott,
Ray Statura,
Bob Stouffer,
Sister Susan Shad,
Linda Shrewsbury,
Susan Stater,
Marjorie Virginia Sullivan,
Aiden Orastigi,
Cataline Velasquez,
William Wallace Whitaker,
Janet Floyd West,
Betsy Wright,
Chan de Kramer,
Doris Fink,
Carl Moore,
Dennis DePreet,
Sandy Schroeder,
Bud Britt,
Please join me in the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. My name's Bonnie Gosline, and I'm a prayer chaplain here at Unity of Tustin, and I actually didn't anticipate being in this emotional state at this very moment. So, the momentum of grief. Thank you for coming. Our joining together signifies a willingness to acknowledge the greatest change. The movement from body to spirit. Bodily life gives way through death into the beingness of the great Comforter, the heavenly host. We recognize we are here, and our human life continues. Grief is a spiral of feelings, seasons, and experiences. It is not a straight line with a beginning and an ending. The process of grief is healing the pain of loss and keeping the treasured memories and love within your heart and within my heart. There may be a middle, a movement to a resting place. So things must just see like you and I remember it. We can embrace those around us. A breather, a pause. In the Old Testament, you'll see the word Selah. It's Hebrew for divine pause. The breath and pause are priceless treasures and a priceless technique. Maybe when others laugh or talk, you may even be able to join in. A divine glimpse that life can and will go on for you and me. Grief, loss, change, emotions take different forms. Feelings of sorrow, overwhelm, resentment. That others' lives continue. Impatience, loneliness, blame, and perhaps emptiness. When my brother John passed away earlier this year, I had this vision. And we were waiting on the porch. And we were waiting for Jesus to come and take John home. And those angels arrived in a limousine with the driver. And off he went. And he left me here. And I wasn't really sure what to do about that. So often he comes to me. He is happy, joyful fisherman, gardener, husband, father, grandfather, teller of jokes and life of the party self to let me know that he's just A-okay. We chose the tree of life as our symbol in this remembrance ceremony. The symbol has carried many meanings for thousands of years. It represents eternal life, immortality, righteousness, the desire of hope, gentle and true speech, wisdom. It has leaves that heal nations, bears new fruit for each month. God's life-giving presence and the fullness of eternal life in God. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, it comes before the Bible, I think, Gilgamesh sought the tree of immortality. And he was told that he should dive into this pool, tie a rock around his ankle, dive into the pool, and this gnarly old weed that was at the bottom of this pool was the tree of life, and to get it, and he would be immortal. He was only thwarted by a serpent who stole it away, and he could never achieve that immortality. We find the tree of life present in the Garden of Eden, along with the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Eve accepts the fruit by the serpent's invitation of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and eats of that fruit and gives it to Adam as well. And with their new knowledge, they were expelled from the Garden of Eden, and the tree of life was left untouched. So I was told yesterday that that's a symbolic move on Adam and Eve's part to begin the process of evolution, and that to become immortal would have stopped that. So that's something to think about. In any case, the search for immortality, the desire to stay youthful and not be near death is very strong in us humans. What has helped in my momentum of grief is everyone who is sitting here today gives me strength, my Unity family, every prayer I say, every daily word read, every sermon, every class, every choir, every song sang, my family of friends and my family of blood relatives, and I know I'm never alone. My word this year is love. And when I am down, despondent, flummoxed, and addlepated, I take pause in the breath and I ask, what would love do? Sometimes the answer is so astounding and surprising. So stay curious. Reach out. God loves you, and you are never, ever alone. And now, in a minute, we're going to hear from Carol. She'll play the Song of Life. The lyrics are by Amy John, and the song is written by Carol, our very own. And you will find them inserted in your program if you would like to look at the words as the music is played. We're not singing together today. Please read this as a poem. Maybe it will comfort you as I have been comforted. Thank you. Carol?
The Song of Life does sing us. Thank you, Amy and Carol. It's so beautiful, the idea, put in words like that, and the music and the song, and we have it right from our own church. Thank you. What a beautiful gift. Wow. The Song of Life does sing us. We don't sing it. And it's a waltz. We need to dance. We need to dance to the Song of Life. And when our busy mind gets us on a vicious cycle, we need to stop pedaling and listen to the melody that is beneath the static chaos in our brain and dance to that tune. We're coming to the conclusion of our time of ceremony and into a time of fellowship. So when we conclude, after Jim Prairie does a prayer, we'll have some refreshments provided by Chaplain Penny Winkler and our beloved Susan Zach. We'll have the dissolving bowls still available if you didn't get a chance to finish, or if you didn't feel complete, or if you'd just like to revisit that lovely ritual, you can visit the dissolving bowls again. Back in the back, we have Chaplain Penny Winkler, Pam Wheeler. Penny Winkler on refreshments, Pam Wheeler on grief recovery table. So Pam has generously purchased a whole bunch of beautiful resources that you may take. Booklets, wonderful affirmation cards, and pamphlets. And I believe that there's a sheet for the workshop there. If you signed up for the workshop online, the Grief Recovery Workshop, it's offered by Reverend Shara and Reverend Blair Tabor. So if you want to go deeper in your healing, the more losses we have, the more we're wounded, especially if we didn't grieve properly, which most of us didn't. So it's a wonderful opportunity to go deeper into healing over time with our very talented ministers. So it's really time to put some levity into all this gravity and to remember the fundamental belief in unity, that we need more fun in demental. And the body is always now. Your body isn't in the future. It isn't in the past. It's always breathing. Heart rate is going. We are alive today. We are still alive. Our body's all about that. It's all about being alive today. It's regulating the temperature. It's making us goosebumpy or sweaty. And it's just keeping us safe. So acknowledge your body. Be present. Look at nature. The sky is the sky, and the earth is growing things. And here we are. And we're going to have some color and movement. So you'll see some bright banners like these. And you'll see prayer chaplains, and we'll be waving them in infinity signs, because infinity is long, eternity feels flat, but infinity loops back on itself, and our lives and certainly our pain is very, very short. And you'll see some little bubbles lifting up. Each bubble is a sphere. It's light, it's bright, and it refracts the sun into rainbows. Rainbow, the symbol of the end of the storm. So we have a closing prayer and then some recessional music that is from Celebrations of Life in the Bahamas originally. And Jim Prairie is going to offer us a closing prayer.
Thank you for honoring me with your presence. Let us pray. O beloved Creator, we gather today as one to celebrate the human experience that you have gifted to us. Made in your image, by you, from you, allowing us the blessed opportunity to experience all that is, the day, the night, the selfish, the selfless, the infinite, the now, the joy, and the grief. As we give thanks of joy for those that we have celebrated today, we recognize the pain of the bereaved. And we thank you for the knowledge that love is eternal, that your holy presence and support is eternal. And we co-create with you a blessing of infinite love upon our sacred experience of grief, and we release it to the heavens. Like playful bubbles floating on a sacred breeze, Lord. Like a child dancing and creating an infinite ribbon pattern. We thank you for the abilities to receive from you and the ability to release to you. And so it is. Amen.
That's all right. That was great. Thank you. That was really, I loved your song. I loved the whole service. The things you chose and what you did with Bridge Over Troubled Water were really, really moving. Some of my favorite songs in it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Beautiful service. Wow.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Come back.